Hey, welcome to Let It Be. My name is Vanessa, and this is my little corner of music YouTube. So I'm going to do another installment of my ongoing series that I call Should It Stay or Should It Go, where I go through items in my collection and I give them a proper reassessment before I decide whether or not I want to keep them or let them go back out into the world for someone else to love. There's a lot of different things that encompass this. Sometimes they're things I bought on a whim and didn't end up liking me as much as I thought I would, or things that I've picked up and just not listened to yet, because that happens. We all know that happens. As much as it logically seems crazy to buy things and not listen to them, that is sometimes the reality when you're a collector. So sometimes this is also an opportunity for me to get to that stuff, but also to reassess some things that have just kind of put off to the side because I haven't really done a full purge before this. So it's time. I'm running out of space and I've kind of changed my priorities as far as collecting. I would like my collection to be more of a reflection of the things that I really want overall and not wasting space on things that I really just am never going to listen to or get to, whatever. So with that out of the way, today I'm going to be looking at kind of an interesting project that's a little different than a lot of the other things I've got to so far. So it is called 3x4, and it is a record by several artists. So it's the Bangles, the 3 o'clock, the Dream Syndicate, and Rain Parade. And they're all covering each other's songs, which is a really cool idea. Like, no denying, I think it's a really awesome idea. And it's also in the more present day. This came out in 2018. So this is like over 30 years removed from the original release of these songs. They were all in the same scene, often called the Paisley Underground. So this is all songs from about the time period, I would say, that they were really all playing the same kinds of shows in the same community before they all branched out maybe into different things, because obviously the Bangles went much more pop as time went on, and the 3 o'clock did to some degree too, with less commercial success, I would say. Dream Syndicate has done, from what I've heard, a lot of different things. And Rain Parade, I only really actually know the one album well. So I don't, and they haven't had many others. So that I need to explore further for sure. But anyway, I was really interested in the Paisley Underground for a while there, a few years back. So that's when I ended up buying this. Actually, when I bought it, I didn't really realize what I was buying. So I bought it thinking it was a compilation of just songs by these bands. And for some reason, I didn't look at it very closely. If I looked at it more closely, I would have realized that the wrong songs were being done by the wrong bands. But did not. I missed that entirely. I was in a rush and I saw it and I thought, oh, Paisley Underground, because some of these albums are really quite hard to find, which I'll get into in a minute. But like, so in that moment, it was like, oh, yes, this will give me a taste of things, the compilation of key songs by some of these artists and blah, 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 blah. When I got home, I realized what I bought. And then I was kind of like, oh, don't know that I would have bought that if I'd known what it was. But anyway, so I listened to it at the time and I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then I have not gone back to it because at the end of the day, despite the fact that I think this is a cool idea, and I don't think that it's done poorly, and I really respect the idea of them paying homage to each other and as peers and friends and everything. Do I really need to own it in my collection, taking up space? I mean, it's a beautiful package and it is colored vinyl and it's pretty cool looking. Like, yeah, but I mean, that kind of thing. I guess people always like to see that. So it's a colored vinyl. It's very pretty, very cool looking. It's actually two records. So they, even though it's only like a 40-minute collection, they have each band's output on a side. So all the Bangles songs are on one side covered by the other bands, and so on. But at the end of the day, as a collector, my priority is generally not on colored vinyl and like stuff like that. Like, I know that some people really like that, and that's cool. You do you. But if I end up with a record that is color, cool color, whatever, by chance, and it's an album I already want, great. But I am not going to buy something specifically and keep something specifically because it's cool and colorful. It's just not my thing. So anyway, to the record, enough about that. So again, like I said, I think this is a cool idea. And I think that they all do a good job doing each other's songs. It's enjoyable to listen to. Nothing about it is embarrassing or anything like that. Like, it's very cool. But at the end of the day, in a lot of cases here, they're not doing anything particularly interesting with a lot of these songs. For the most part, there are exceptions, but I would say that overall they're pretty straight covers, maybe more their style than the original one, and modernized, of course, but they're nothing to make me take this out and put it on over listening to the originals in most cases. Like, it's, and with cover albums and tribute albums, it's always a bit of like a crapshoot, I guess you could say. Like, a lot of the time, they're pretty inessential. Do you really need they might be enjoyable, and if you're a big fan, they might be worth getting, but a lot of the time, let's be honest, how much do we really listen to them regularly? Probably not too often. Very rarely are you going to get like a John Cale's Hallelujah that changes the whole conversation around a song and the whole narrative around the song. That doesn't happen very often. A lot of the time, they're nice. It's cool to hear other bands covering people's songs, but you know, and this is kind of overall one of those. But I would say that there is one exception that really stands out that I really enjoyed, and that is the Rain Parade cover of the Dream Syndicate's When You Smile. I think they actually do a really cool job of this song, and they enhance it and make it just a little brighter, and they add their own sort of stamp to it. They extend it a bit. And I would listen to them back to back just to kind of compare them. And it was really neat. Like, I thought that was really cool. But that's one song. The rest of it, I did a lot of back-to-back comparisons, not of everything because, after a while, you know, but overall, I found that they were pretty similar and just, like I said, didn't add much. And it's worth checking out if you like these bands. It's worth listening to. But at the end of the day, it's a fairly unnecessary release unless you were like super invested in this scene and you really want to see these bands cover each other's songs. And since I kind of bought it by accident because I didn't realize that's what I was buying, it's not necessarily something that I am sitting here like, oh yes, I need to keep owning this. Like, I'm going to listen to this all the time. I don't really have much connection to it, to be honest with you, because even though I really like these bands in this scene, I'm not like a super fan of any of them. And this idea doesn't necessarily fill me with excitement. I do think that actually this probably would have been better done as something like kind of like a live show and like as a live album where they're all there together performing each other's songs and then maybe interacting with each other on stage and doing sort of like this cool like tribute to them, to the scene in that kind of format. I think that would have been extra cool. I mean, the other thing that needs to be considered here is this is a record store day release. So that often informs, you end up with things that are not necessarily like the sort of releases that you're like, that it's like a studio album or a live album that's like canon, I guess you could say. So it is kind of a specialty product at the end of the day. But again, this is not what it's about whether or not it should exist. Sure, it should exist. And sure, if you like these bands, you should check it out. But it's on streaming, so you can do that. Or if you like collecting like colorful packages and it's got a beautiful package. I will not deny that. So if you really are invested in that, it's worth owning for that. I'm just not. So I give it a 3.5 stars, which means I actually think it's good, but it's not essential. Not at all. So it's going to go for me. I do not need to own it. I am happy with my actual records by these bands. I have a bunch here. They don't cover anything by this for this album by the 3 o'clock, but I do not have 16 tambourines or any of the earlier stuff. Unfortunately, I'm still looking for that. A lot of this stuff is hard to find. Actually, I only just recently got Emergency Third Rail Power Trip, and I have been looking for it for years. And I did not think that I would ever end up getting it, because even online, on CD, on vinyl, no matter what, it is generally pretty expensive or difficult to find, although they did reissue it for Record Store Day this year, so that should probably help. But this is actually original that I came across by chance after I'd stopped looking for it. So you just never know, of course. But yeah, though that's more the focus that I would take personally for finding stuff from this scene in this moment in time, if you're interested, than this collection here. It's a fun footnote. It's a really cool idea, but not essential at the end of the day. So anyway, what do you think? Have you heard this album? What do you think about tribute albums or cover albums in general? Let me know. Anyway, till next time, see ya.